Hello, beautiful people. I have had several people ask me to do a video on how I do my kosher dill pickles. So I do have several pounds of cucumbers, pickling cucumbers that I got, and I wanted to go ahead and share how I do that with you. So the majority of the cucumbers I have already cut up and got them divided between pickle chips, pickle spears, and relish. I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about how I decide whether or not a cucumber is going to be a chip, a spear, or it's going to go into relish. I try to find ones that are not overgrown. They're typically about, normal size for a pickle chip. And those are the ones that I'm going to clean and chop up into the pickle chips. My larger ones, the ones that are a little bit too fat to be pickle chips, those are the ones that I'm going to make into spears. Now, if those are too long to fit in the quart-sized jar, I'll cut the end off to make them short enough to fit in the jar. And then I'll take that end that I cut off and that'll go into relish. The rest of my cucumbers, whether they're too ugly or not quite uniform enough to be a pickle spear or a pickled chip, those will go into relish. And then anything that's too overgrown or the inside has overdeveloped seeds, and those are ones that wouldn't quite meet the grade or the cut for a pickle spear or chip either. Now let me show you what I mean by that. So this one in particular is a larger overgrown one. There's no reason to throw this away. It'll make a perfect relish. But what you'll see here is the pods here where the seeds are sitting in is a little bit overdeveloped. It's kind of fallen apart. It's a little bit mushy, very, very watery. So what I'm going to do for this to be able to put it into relish is I'm actually going to cut this part out. So I'm just going to cut it into a quarter and take my knife and run it down along that mushy, seedy part and just cut that part out and then put that in the garbage. And then you'll see that I'm left with just the good parts of the cucumber to go into the pickle relish. So I do have a pile here to grind up into relish. And what I do for that is I just use my food processor and I'm just going to use the blade on the bottom to just kind of chop this up. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done and then I'll show you what everything looks like in the jars. All right, so I have all of the cucumbers seeded and cored, and then I've run them through my food processor to get them chopped up. I wanted to share with you one little tip that I do before putting them in the jars. So cucumbers can be a very watery vegetable, so before I put them in the jars for the pickle relish, I actually run them through a strainer, and I just kind of push down, and I've already drained most of the water, but you can see that a lot more is still coming out. So I do this just to get a lot of that water out and to prevent it from adding too much water through the water bathing process. If they're still going to juice up or they're still going to collect water even after doing this, it'll just be a lot less, and the flavor of that dill is going to be a lot better if you do in fact drain these. So let me go ahead and finish draining these and I'll get them in the jar. Okay, so I have all of my pickle chips cut up and in pint-sized jars. I always do my spears in quart-sized jars, and I do my relish in half pint-sized jars. I'm not sure, this one might be a better one to show you. I'm not sure if you can kind of see the consistency that turned out to be by running it through the food processor. So, the big secret ingredient for my kosher dill pickles. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I like to keep things super simple, super easy. If there's a good way to do something, I don't feel any need to reinvent the wheel. So I actually really like the Mrs. Wages kosher dill seasoning. So I just use this, and I love the way that it turns out. I will say that I do add a little bit of extra vinegar because I personally really like vinegary kosher dill pickles. So if you read the ingredients on the back of this, you need 9 to 11 pounds of pickling cucumbers. You You need 7 1/3 cups of water, which I've already put in my stock pot. I'm using a 12-quart stock pot that I got at Walmart for like 26 bucks. Love this thing. And then you also need 3 1/3 cups of vinegar. So because I like extra vinegar, I'm gonna go ahead and do 4 cups of vinegar. You are welcome to follow the directions or change it up to your taste. What's the nice thing about canning your own stuff is you get to decide what the final product is gonna essentially taste like by adding more or taking away some of the ingredients. Oop, I splashed a little bit there. So I'm gonna do 4 cups of vinegar. In my opinion, the extra vinegar just tastes so good. So there's that. And now all you're gonna do is you're gonna add this pickling mix, 1 bag of this, and then you're gonna bring it to a boil. You're gonna stir it all up, and then we'll ladle it into all the jars. So let me go ahead and add this, get this to a boil and stirring, and then when we're ready to add it to the jars, I will show you that part. My pickling brine is ready. While it was boiling, I went through and got all of my mess cleaned up. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I am very OCD about keeping my workspace clean. I always clean in between each step. I don't like to leave a mess laying around. I wash my hands about 100 times. Highly recommend that you do the same. It's very important when you're canning that everything, all of your surfaces are clean, your jars, your lids, your rims are all sterilized, that you're making sure that any equipment that you're using is also sterilized. Very important, don't skip that step. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this pickling brine, and you can't see it, but I did give it a good stir, and I am pouring it into my measuring cup. And at this point, what I'm going to do, let me tilt this down just a bit here. I'm gonna go ahead and take my funnel, and I did get the relish kind of packed down to get rid of any of the air bubbles, but I'm gonna go ahead and start filling these jars. Now the relish, you have to fill very slowly because it's going to have to filter down through all of that fine pickle, chopped up pickles that we have in there. So I'm gonna let that filter down. I'll move on to one of my spears. You're gonna fill these jars until they're about 1/4 inch from the top. Very important. If you run out of brine, that's okay. Just grab another packet of Mrs. Wages and do up another batch. I'm certain that I will have to do another pot of brine. You can see that I'm filling these again up until about 1/4 inch from the top of the jar. That's the end of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this mixed up and refill my measuring cup. This just makes it really easy to pour from the measuring cup into the funnel in the jars without making a huge mess. Now, while I'm pouring this, I will tell you as well, sometimes I do add chopped onion or sliced onions to my dill pickles. Sometimes I'll add garlic, sometimes I add both. This time though, I'm just doing a straight batch of kosher dill pickles. I'm not adding any onions or garlic to it. So again, that's the beauty about canning your own stuff. You get to decide what goes in it. You get to do everything to taste and however you like things the best. So I am gonna go ahead and do another batch of brine. So let me get that done, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these jars filled. I now have all of my jars full, and I wanted to share one little tip with you. I already put my knife in the sink, but as you're filling up your relish jars, if it's not filtering down fast enough, you can take a knife or like a chopstick or anything like that and just kind of move it around the sides, stick it in there and move it around the sides, and that'll help that brine to settle a little bit quicker so you're able to get those jars filled. Now, once I got them all filled, I did go through and I put my pickling salt in all the jars. This just helps to keep the brine clear once it's water bathed and it's been in the pantry. If you don't use this, you might notice that it's a little cloudy after a while. That's okay. It's just really visually more appealing if you use the pickling salt. This is optional. I just really like to use it. The next thing that we're going to do is the extra crunch. Now this is what keeps our pickles and our relish crunchy and keeps it from turning mushy once it's gone through the water bath. I'll also mention two other things. One, while I'm doing all of this, I already have my stove on and my water bath pots warming up to that get them to that boil. And then two, I did have extra pickling brine left, so I went ahead and put that in a jar so I can put that in the fridge and use it on another batch later. It'll stay forever if it's in the refrigerator, so don't waste your brine. If you have any extra and your jars are all full, throw it in an extra jar, put a lid on it, stick it in the fridge, and then you can use that in the next batch. With all the jars that I have, I made 3 batches of the kosher dill brine. So that is what I had left from 3. So let's go ahead and get our extra crunch in there. For the half pint jars, you're going to use 1/16 of a teaspoon. For the pint jars, you're going to use 1/8 of a teaspoon. And for your quart size jars, you're going to use 1/4 teaspoon. It's the same measurement when you do your pickling salt. So let's go ahead and get that in all of our jars here. I don't measure out 1/16, so I just kind of give each half pint jar a little sprinkle, and that way my relish does not get mushy. I'm gonna go ahead and get my 1/4 teaspoon in all of my quart size jars. And while I was getting that last 2 batches of brine done, I did go through and clean up all of my other messes that I had accumulated since I had finished cutting everything. Very important to me to always keep everything clean as I am doing this. You just don't want anything to get contaminated when you are doing your canning. Another thing that I will mention as I am getting these filled is because I also pressure can, I will use different lids for water bathing and pressure canning. And what I mean by that is I reserve my more expensive ball lids for when I am pressure canning. Very important that when you're pressure canning that you have quality equipment and quality lids when you're doing that. So when I water bath, I typically save some money and will use the cheaper lids that don't have any name on them. They're not a name brand, or maybe they're an off brand. So my ball lids, I use those for pressure canning. They're more expensive. You always want to make sure you've got the good stuff for pressure canning because a lot of stuff can go wrong there. Water bathing, it's not such a big deal. If you only water bath, it doesn't matter then. Just use what you got. Use your ball, use your curve, whatever you've got if you're only water bathing. But if you're doing both, always make sure that you are using quality equipment when you're pressure canning. And when you're water bathing, yes, we need quality equipment here as well, but you can get away with using cheaper, for example, no-name lids versus the more expensive, of course I won't be able to pull one. Oh, there we go, the more expensive ball brand lids. So now that I have my brine in here and my salt and my extra crunch, I'm gonna go ahead and go around and give each rim a good wipe because we want to make sure that there isn't anything on that rim of the jar that's going to prevent our lid from properly sealing. So I'll just go around, give each rim a quick wipe with a nice clean cloth. It's just hot water on my cloth, nothing special. So I can just go through and wipe each one. Now once you're done wiping those, you're gonna go ahead and get your lid on, and you just want to hand tighten it. That's it. Don't over tighten it. Don't feel like you gotta be He-Man or She-Ra. For those that are as old as me and remember He-Man and She-Ra. Maybe you're really old and you remember Popeye eating his spinach, and then he had the strength to be able to really just crank that on there. That's actually one of my good ball lids. So I'm going to find a no-name one. All right, so once you've got all your lids on, hand tightened, you can go ahead and load all of these in your canner. You're gonna process them 45 minutes for quart-sized jars, 30 minutes for pints and half pints. If I happen to mix the jars, so let's say maybe I've got a water bath that has both quarts, pints, and half pints, I'm always gonna water bath the time based on the largest jar in the pot. So that way I can make sure that everything is properly water bathed. So go ahead, get all your lids on, get all of your items put into your water bath, and process those according to the times that I just gave you for the size that you are doing. And we will see what it all looks like when it comes out of the pot. I wanted to share another tip with you. Now, if you're water bathing, you can go ahead and stack your jars on top of each other. I wouldn't recommend this if you're pressure canning. And you may actually hear people say that they wouldn't recommend this water bathing. I do this all the time. I don't have any problems with it. So I have gone ahead and stacked those in there. I've got my layer on the bottom, and then I just laid those on the top like that. Now, if you do that, you're gonna wanna cover your pot. That way that steam will get up there and process the ones that might not be completely submerged. So just a little tip to help save you some time when it comes to water bathing. It has been 45 minutes for all of our pickles to water bath. And then in addition to that, it's been about 3 hours for them to cool as well. So what I've done, and what I want to point out to all of you, is I've labeled all of my jars. So if you are just keeping these for yourself, it is important that you at least put the content, so for example, dill pickles, and that you put the month and year that the item was canned. So that way you can just kind of keep track of using the oldest stuff first. So as I put new stuff in my pantry, I'm pulling the oldest stuff out to the front, and then I'm putting the newest stuff in the back. So I'm always making sure to rotate those things, and having the date and the month on it is super helpful. And then also just having the name of what's in the container is super helpful, just to kind of grab and make sure I'm not getting sweet hot pickles when I'm looking for dill pickles. So as always, once these have cooled for 12 hours, you can go through each one of them and check to see if they've sealed or not. Now, obviously these have not had enough time, so I will be checking these later, but just to give you an idea of what you're looking for after 12 hours is this one. If you can hear that click and you see the lid giving as I'm pressing on it, this one is not sealed, okay? So this one obviously needs some more time. If it's already been 12 hours and it still isn't sealed, chances are it's probably not gonna seal and something went wrong in the water bath process. That's okay. You have two options. One, you can go through the whole water bathing process all over again and heating your kitchen to 100 degrees and waiting 45 minutes, etc. I prefer not to do that. As long as the lid is not removed from the jar, it is okay to go ahead and use one of these mason jar vacuum sealers. You can get these for 25 bucks on Amazon. They are super, super handy for sealing jars that don't end up sealing after the water bath process. So all I'm gonna do is take this, I'm gonna take the rim off. I'm gonna take my vacuum sealer and I'm gonna place it right over the top. You gotta kind of press a little bit. And then there's a little power button on here that you're gonna push. And it takes about a minute or so, but it's gonna vacuum seal it, and then when that's done, that jar will be sealed and you won't be able to push on it. Now, to tell if something is sealed, this jar has already sealed. So if you notice, when I press on it, there's no clicking sound and that lid is not moving, and I can tell that it is sealed. So this jar is good to go. So make sure, again, wait 12 hours, give your jars plenty of time to cool, and you'll hear them popping as they're cooling, and that's a good thing. And then after that 12 hours, any that have not sealed, you'll either want to re-water bath them or use this handy little vacuum sealer for mason jars. It saves a lot of time and energy in having to go back and re-water bath them. I hope that you found this video useful. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button, And if you have any ideas for additional content, anything else that you'd like to hear about, feel free to comment below, or even if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I'll include my contact information at the end of this video. Feel free to reach out as well if you have any questions. Otherwise, happy canning until the next video.